World Arts Academy provides professional development for emerging, practicing, and master dance artists, teachers, administrators, and scholars through advocacy and professional development opportunities that advance dance as a performing art in educational sectors and communities throughout the world. Our faculty teaches diverse dance genres in a variety of environments including, but not limited to, K through 12 schools, dance studios, colleges, and community centers. World Arts Academy envisions dance reimagined, reflective of our differences and supportive of all who dance and teach dance. A world where dance education is equitable, accessible, valued, and preserved. Please visit our website at worldartsacademy.com to see our impressive faculty, view our workshop calendar, enjoy distance learning, or help our mission by becoming a patron.
The Danceology podcast interviews the great masters of dance, the working professionals starring in today's most exciting shows, and the rising stars ready to amp up the craft. I'm your host, Edyta Sliwinska from Dancing with the Stars. Join me as I dive into the world of dance, uncovering unique stories and the fascinating personalities of industry professionals on Danceology. Welcome to the Danceology podcast. I'm your host, Edyta Sliwinska. With me in the studio is my producer, Todd. My guest this week is a principal dancer of the New York City Ballet, Indiana Woodward. As many of you know, the New York City Ballet is considered one of the best ballet companies in the country. I was so excited to talk to Indiana because I've been admiring ballet dancers throughout my whole dance career. I think their bodies are a work of art. I admire their discipline and artistry. And after talking to Indiana, I have even more respect for ballet dancers. They work harder than I could imagine, and they stay in such amazing shape because they are incredibly in tune with their bodies. I hope you enjoy our conversation where Indiana tells me what it takes to become a prima ballerina. Indiana, welcome to Danceology. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So listen, I have been admiring ballet dancers through my whole dancing career, probably through my whole life since I ever laid my eyes on some ballet dancing. I think your bodies are a work of art. I admire your discipline. I admire your work ethic. And I want to get into, in this interview, how do you become a principal dancer in one of the best companies in the world? But first, you mentioned in one of your biographies that some of your first memories are backstage in a theater and watching a dance class. Tell me about the circumstances of these first memories and how did you actually get into dancing?
I started, my mom was pregnant with me in Paris, which is where I was born. And she was dancing on stage actually with me in her tummy. And so
I dancer. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Was she a ballerina
my mom,
as well?
She was a ballerina and a contemporary dancer and kind of did like everything. She's very versatile and like pretty skilled in every type of movement and super creative. And so she kind of like dabbled in everything, I think, from what I've seen. But so I was kind of born on the stage, I feel like she's always told me. And so when I was little and I had to be with her when she was running her company when we had moved to Philadelphia, I was always backstage, and she told me that whenever I would be like in the parking lot or outside of the theater, I would be normal baby, but then as soon as I entered the stage and was on stage or in the back of the wings, I would be totally silent. And she was so surprised, obviously, because, I was talkative and made noises and things just like a normal baby. And then there was something about the theater that like silenced me. I don't know if she always says it was because, I obviously like respected the space or found it like to be a very special space or calming as well. So like all the above. But yeah, so I kind of grew up in the theater thanks to my mom.
Got it. So these are your first memories. Also a theater for a little kid. That's like overall overload of stimulation, 100%.
Oh yeah, it's a playground.
So have you? So it just happened. You just started dancing. Your mom was a dancer, but I also read that you actually started ballet quite late. You were 10. So
I
just so
started
our listeners
point.
know, 10 is late for
Yeah.
ballet, right? Yeah.
Well, I started ballet when I was 3, but
Okay.
then I went on point when I was 10. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so like I started pretty young to be completely honest, and I also was a very active kid. So I skied, and I played tennis, and I did karate, and what else? Ice skating. I was very into active sports. And there was one point where I kind of had to choose ballet or other sports.
mm,
And it took me a little bit of time, but I chose ballet. And I kind of just continued like that narrow track, of like, I just was
right.
really focused and
Focusing.
just, yeah, I felt like I wanted to do ballet. It was my calling. And so I just dove right into it and made the decision to start. I think it was 10 when I made the decision to
Right.
start,
That,
like,
that's what I was going to ask. Do you remember that moment when you decided, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what makes me happy. This is what makes me complete, or this is my calling. Do you remember that moment? How did it come about?
I do. I danced in a studio, a small Russian ballet school in Venice Beach, California. Very, very tiny, and like amazing tininess, because then you had, attention on you too, like to be very good in what you did. And we had a teacher named Yuri Grigoriev, who
Mhm.
was like the most incredible teacher. He was a dancer at the Stanislavski, and he was just an incredible teacher. And I remember I used to do some of the I think I was doing a show, and I just, in that moment when I was on stage, I just was like, this is one of my favorite places to be in. And I just loved the discipline of being in a class and almost just like mastering a craft. I loved working hard and always improving, and that there was nothing, you could never be perfect in this
Right.
art form really, or any art form um in that case, but in specific ballet, like you are always working and striving, and it's very inward but also shared. So it's kind of like there's lots of different aspects to it that are really cool because it's in a community, but it's yourself that you're focused on. So you're not alone and you can just be with others, which I really loved. But I feel like I really felt it when I was on the stage in rehearsal and then in the show, that I just like, I found so much joy that I really wanted to continue and just focus on that and see if I could get anywhere.
So tell me about your teacher. You mentioned your teacher was
Yeah.
Russian. He was connected to the Russian style ballet. Is that where you started with? Is that where you are now? What is your, obviously the Russian ballet is known for its very specific technique and approach, very strict, very disciplined, very, I would say, almost rigid in terms of not very flexible in terms of innovating.
Yeah.
So this is how you grew up. This is how you learned, and where are you now comparing to that?
Yeah, so it's a very good question because there is a very big differentiation or difference between Russian and Balanchine technique, even though they're both obviously Russian from the same place. But my teacher taught me very strict Vaganova training, that was quite rigid, beautiful and strict, and just like wonderful classicism, but it also didn't lend itself to the same kind of freedom that Balanchine lends itself. And I basically, how I got to where I am, I was with Yuri. I did 2 years of Youth American Grand Prix, which is a competition, and I got a scholarship to go to, I believe, the Bolshoi Academy in New York. So I went, and then I got a scholarship in that summer course to go to Russia, and study at the Bolshoi Ballet Academy, which was, incredible, in Russia. And for, I think, 2.5 months or so, I was there, I believe, when I was 15. But before going there, I decided to audition at Royal Ballet and School of American Ballet so that I could see if there was a place that was a year-round school that had that was an affiliate school to a company. because my teacher had advised me that I need to start doing that if I want to join a company. And so on my way to Russia, I had auditioned for these 2 places. When I was in Russia, I got a letter that said that I got a scholarship to School of American Ballet in the summer course. Now, I had never been taught or heard really much of anything about Balanchine, just because, I don't know why, but maybe because I was so focused in this Russian training. So my mind always went there, even though I loved soaking everything in. It was like, for ballet, it was very specific Russian training. That's it. And so when I got this letter, I was so touched that I got a scholarship. Like, I was really like, I didn't usually get into many places as a kid. And so a scholarship, I felt like they really wanted me there. And so I was like, I'll try it. And I kept my mind open. I went to the summer course and I tried this training for the first time. I had my Russian points on, which are very classical ballet shoes. You know, everybody wears Freed of London there. And so everyone was like, oh my gosh, you have Russian points. And I absolutely fell in love with the technique. It just kind of made sense to my body. Like, I felt like I was able to express myself even more than and how I wanted to express myself. And so it just felt like a perfect fit from my Russian training, and then having this beautiful Balanchine like finishing, I guess, on top of it. So I joined the school and I just loved it. After 2 years, I got in a year early into the company, and I just continued. And it's just been like, I'm so grateful that I kept my mind open. And I always say this, but I'm just really grateful I did, because I obviously found the place that I was meant to be in. But it wasn't what I expected at all. I was looking at, you know, companies in Russia. I was looking at, not that I could get in, but just in my dreams. And I was looking at ABT and a lot of other classical ballet companies. And so I'm so grateful that my parents and my, you know, the people that helped me in my community kept me with like an open mind and like a sponge to be able to try things and then see if it worked or not.
So did you end up going to Russia? Did you end up going to that Bolshoi training camp, I think it was, you said?
Yes, I ended up going to Russia.
That experience.
Incredible experience, super scary, just because I was 15 and I went by myself. My dad met me in Russia because he lives in France, and he met me in Russia and he took me to the school, and then he left. And I was so scared just because I didn't know the language. I didn't really know anybody. I had one friend that I went to the Bolshoi Ballet in America with, so I was really grateful to have him there. But it was the school that is the school to the Bolshoi company, like the professional company. So pretty incredible historic place. You know, you walk around the halls and you're just like, oh, I can't believe I'm here. And so entering Russia, and this school, I joined a Russian class. So they had classes that were for Russians, and then there were other classes that were for international kids, I believe. I believe that's what it was. But I remember I was in a class where nobody spoke English, and it was just Russian on a raked floor, which is not what we're used to. So that's like a tilted floor instead of flat. And because I had my teacher, what did you say?
Was that on purpose?
Yeah, so yes, so the history of ballet originally, when theaters were made, everything was, and actually I think theaters in general, I don't think just for ballet, I think for theater as well, and acting and plays, the floor was tilted so that you could see better in the audience, because the audience was flat.
Well, that's not great for dancers, like spinning uphill. I've done that. It's terribly difficult.
So hard. And you kind of have to relinquish control, and then your body just does it. It's incredible, but like, it's so scary. So I was 15 and I'd never been on a raked floor, and I was like, oh my goodness, okay, well, here we go. And I just jumped right in. I made tons of friends. I had just the best time. I learned Russian. They offered us like a class in speaking and in writing. And so I got to really learn Russian really well, which I was super grateful for. And I made wonderful friends. When I left, I kind of stopped immediately just because nobody around me spoke Russian.
There's no utility, right?
It wasn't, yeah. But, you know, I recently I learned the alphabet and learned how to read. So I can always read Russian, but I don't always know what it means. So it's like, I have some useful tools, but it was an incredible experience. And I think it was like one of my most formative experiences in my life because I was set alone and I was able to learn and grow by myself in this incredible foreign country and make friends. And then I came back to America after, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Well, and it also says a lot about your personality, how you could benefit and from that experience being only 15 in a, as you said, different country, different language. But tell me, did you know there's a different approach? Like every time, everyone kind of, it's very stereotypical, says how Russian dancers are incredibly hardworking and very disciplined. But then even Russian teachers, you mentioned you had a Russian teacher. My daughter, I have a 6-year-old, she takes gymnastics classes with one of the Russian teachers, and she's by far the most strict teacher of any activities I've ever came across here in the United States. And that approach is familiar to me because this is how we train in Poland too. Polish and Russian cultures very close.
Yeah.
So did you notice that people were trained differently and they had different approach from the people that you trained with in America?
I think that because I had a Russian teacher, he was actually extremely similar to the teachers I had in Russia. So I was very prepared, I
You were
think,
used to
for
it.
that. Yeah, I was totally used to it. He didn't speak English to us at all. So I
Oh,
just had to understand Russian from when I was little. So
so
it
at
was
least
kind
you
of,
know the Russian dance terminology, kind
oh
of.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
why I
all
was
that.
fine in ballet class. I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that means. But I did notice, like, I would say with the students, that's where the biggest difference was, because in America, a lot of people take it as an extracurricular activity,
Right. Just for
or for
fun.
exercise,
Yeah.
fun.
No
And
one does ballet for fun in America. I mean, in
yeah,
Russia.
in Russia. No. In
No.
Russia, it's like you're picked and then you go in and you know from when you're really, really young that you will be in the company, or that's your
Right.
mindset.
And it's a privilege to be accepted and to have an opportunity to
100%.
excel. Hmm.
Yeah, it's like it's like a huge honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. Okay. So speaking about your personality, how incredible the experience was, what do you think it's a psychological makeup of a ballet dancer? Because obviously you guys train so hard. What do you do to your bodies is you mold it and you sculpt it, and it's absolutely unbelievable the amount of work, the amount of detail that you work on. Uh, Tell me about what does it take psychologically? What kind of mindset there
Mm.
needs to be to succeed?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think that when I was younger, I was quite fearful of the competition in ballet. Like being a woman in ballet, I felt like I was nervous that I was going to be compared a lot. And really what I learned that helped me, I think, stay focused on myself and in my path and on my craft is actually realizing that you don't need to, and you shouldn't care kind of what anybody else thinks, as well as you shouldn't compare yourself to anybody, because you're your own unique person and you can see things in others that you admire, and so you can take on those traits that you admire of these other people and bring it onto your body. And that lesson was really crucial in the mindset of becoming a professional dancer, because you see people doing your role, like the roles that you also
Right.
do all the time. And it sometimes it can drive you crazy if you don't look like them because you think that they're the most beautiful, or like it's like the biggest prima ballerina doing this role in your company that you just admire so much, and you're like, how could I do this? Like, how
Mhm.
everyone's gonna think I'm like, what, why am I here? But it takes like training in class to basically get yourself to a place where you know that you're different and that's special, and to take what you see in others and just, it's like, what is it, when you copy someone, it's the biggest form of flattery.
Yes.
So instead of copying, like wishing that you had this other person's legs, see how they use their legs and then bring that work ethic to yours. Something super simple, but it's so effective in the ballet world because you are always sharing roles, or you're always having an understudy, or you're an understudy, or so you're always surrounded by others, and seeing that it's a community of supporting each other. I think that's the most important thing to become a professional, because then you can really have help when you have hard times, because ballet is really hard and the work that we do is very challenging. It's very emotional because it's what we love to do, or myself, I'm emotional about it because I love it so much. And it's really helpful to have support around you as a professional dancer inside the company, because those are the people that understand what you're going through and like the experience that you're going through day in and day out, really.
So, but is there really a support? How much of support there is? Because you mentioned that there is a competition. Obviously, it's very different. Like in ballroom dancing, we actually have competitions. We actually have the winner and the final and the quarterfinal. We actually know the order. In ballet, in a company, just for our listeners, there's also a ranking order, right? You are you start in a certain position and you work up towards being a soloist and then a principal dancer, and there are many steps in between. So there's sort of a rank and an order.
Yes.
And we also all have seen the movies and
of
read
course.
the books about happiness of ballerinas and all the drama going on. Is there a social order? Is there like a pecking order? What's the dynamic within the company? Do the principal dancers hang out with the the dancers that are just upcoming and just the company dancers? How does it work?
So in our company, and I think in actually a lot of companies, there is, this corps de ballet soloist and principal and apprentice is the first thing that you get when you get into the company. Then it's corps, then it's soloist, then it's principals, for anybody who doesn't know. And I found that as soon as I got into the company, I was very welcomed by my peers. So soloists, principals, and corps de ballet members. Now, I personally was a little bit fearful, only because I was so admirative and also felt like I didn't want to overstep with the principal dancers, or the soloists for that, or even the corps members. I was just, very in awe of everybody. But I found as I've gotten older and when I got into the corps, we all hang out. Doesn't matter the rank, at the end of the day, we're all just people. And we're human beings in this like incredible kind of machine that keeps working as a company, putting on shows. And really the only way that it survives is by us staying as a community. As soon as it becomes kind of like you're better than me and I'm better than you, it's really difficult to be in the environment, and it causes like really a lot of unnecessary friction, because at the end of the day, we're performing and that's the finished product, is like what goes on stage. And so in between, it's very helpful to be supportive of each other. And of course, I think the competition happens in my opinion, more when you're younger, just because there's so many young ladies that want to do ballet.
Younger before you get into the company?
Before you get into the company. And then there's usually, I don't know how it is these days, but in my day, there weren't as many men that wanted to do ballet. So the men kind of, it's only a few men that like, or whoever's there just gets in. Even if they're amazing, it's still like they don't have the same feeling as the women did, where it's like hundreds of girls that you just know that are itching for a spot. So I feel like before you get into the company, it's like that. And then when you get into the company, you really are, it's a job. Number one, it's a job and you get paid for it. So that's incredible, but it is a job, and it comes with all of the job things.
Requirements,
and
right.
Requirements, exactly. Yeah. So it kind of stops becoming a competition, and you just have to do really well at your job, honestly. And then you have your peers, and they're your friends. And because we spend I don't know how many hours, but so much time. It's like basically a family, and we support each other and we cry with each other. And when someone is going through something, it's very difficult in the company, and we all support them. So there's a lot more camaraderie, I would say, when you in the company than most people think, and what's dictated in films.
But that's amazing to hear. And okay, so we established that the films are fiction, all right?
Yes,
They
they're
are
fiction.
drama. They are to make
Yeah, they're
good
dramatized.
headlines, right?
Yeah.
Good headlines, good storylines. But you know, that makes sense because you guys are a team and you are working towards creating one product, whatever
Exactly.
that you're putting on. So that completely makes sense. And you know, again, I'm comparing it a little bit to ballroom dancing because that's
Yeah.
what I did. You know, we are all working towards our individual goal, our own.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple, and that couple is a team, and that's about it. Everyone else is
Right.
an enemy there. You
Yeah.
guys do work towards the same goal.
Yeah.
All right. So let's, because as I said, I want to discover what it really takes to become the best of the best in the ballet world. So
Yes.
let's talk about a day of your life. How is your training? How is your diet? What do you do besides, you know, your ballet training? Do you do Pilates, gyrotonics, yoga, gym, weightlifting? What is it? Guide me through your routine.
Yeah. So it's changed over the years as I've gotten older, and nowadays I focus more on actually things that keep me calm and keep my nervous system quite calm, which has helped me a lot with just stage performance anxiety and being overexcited all the time, and things like that. But so a day in the life, I would say for me, I would wake up probably around like 7:30 or so, 7:30, and I have a cup of coffee. I usually soft boil some eggs, and then I just kind of sit on the couch, relax for a little bit. Then I go into work probably about 40 minutes early or 30 minutes early, and I do a little bit of Pilates to warm up my body. So just abdominals, back work, a little bit of stretching, footwork for sure, and
When
put
you
my
say
clothes on.
you're going to work, you're going for a rehearsal to the
Yeah.
theater or
Yes.
your rehearsal space? Uh-huh.
Yes. So
Right.
we work at either the theater that we are in during the season, or the Rose campus, which is the same building as Juilliard. So when I go into the class, I take an hour and 15-minute to an hour 30-minute class to warm up for my day. So that's the ballet class. So I've done
Okay.
Pilates already. Then I go and I do a ballet class. And then after
By
that,
11 o'clock, you have done more physical activity than the average person in a day,
yeah.
of their life. Okay.
It is, but it's funny because it's hard to even see it that way, because it's the only way that my body feels good to do the warm-up class. If I didn't do it, I would feel terrible and just like quit, because I was like, oh, this is so painful. But I don't. So I do all of the activities, and then after that, so every day is kind of different. But if I had a full day rehearsal, I would do rehearsals from 12 to 3, and it would be probably an hour and an hour of all different ballets. So go into a studio, do one ballet, go into a studio, do another one, and another one in the next hour. So there's so much that we rehearse. In our rehearsal period, we rehearse for like the 6-week season, and we do so many ballets. So
Right.
we're kind of constantly switching our brains to each ballet, and the music really helps for that. So I do those rehearsals. Usually in between there, probably have a banana or some nuts or something to keep me going. Always drink water as much as you can, even though it's quite hard because you always have to go to the bathroom. And that's not very fun when you are in ballet clothes. And then we have usually our lunch break after 3 hours. And I'll have, I don't know what I usually bring, maybe like quinoa with vegetables and some chicken, or a rice dish or a salad. Kind of changes in my day. And if I want something sweet, I'll bring some dates or some chocolate, or nuts again, crackers, hummus, avocado. Those are like my things that I usually have in the day, or sweet potato. And then we have another 4 to 7
Oh,
during
wow.
a rehearsal period. So 4
It
to
is a
7,
job. It
it's a
really is
job.
a job.
Yeah, totally. And so then we rehearse the rest of the day, and then I go home for dinner, and then I go probably, for me, I take a bath before I go to sleep, an Epsom salt bath, and then I go to sleep. But if we were in a show time, we would finish at 5 p.m. So we have 2 hours, or 5:30. So we have 2 hours before our show that starts at 7:30.
Right.
So we have that whole day, and then we have the show
And then the
during the
show.
show time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is,
So
it's
a lot.
you can't compare it to any other experience. You know, we do it, let's say, on Dancing with the Stars, but it's not nearly as intense because you're working with not professional, and a lot of it is teaching the other person. So it's mentally and time consuming, it's mentally straining.
Yeah.
But you guys actually are dancing in points, or you are on your feet doing your
Yeah.
job for so many hours, pretty much a whole day.
So many hours.
No wonder your bodies end up looking like they look.
Yeah,
And they look
we definitely
absolutely
work
fabulous.
hard. And then to answer your other question, what I usually do on the side
Right.
is I do gyrotonics. I kind
Can
of
you
have
explain
found,
to our listeners what that is? Because I bet not many people know, and it's a
yes,
fairly new thing.
it's so gyrotonics, I think it was probably, I don't know when it was created, maybe in the 70s, something like that. But basically, it's a form of movement that's very circular and doesn't have much weight bearing. So it's very, it's your body weight and you're moving circular. So it's always a flow. And it's a form of exercise, a form of practice that really strengthens every single tiny to big muscle, but in a lengthening way. So
Lengthening it, right.
nothing is tight or restrictive. And so I found it so important for me because I do a lot of jumping and my muscles get really tight. And if you're a runner, a cyclist, anybody who does any exercise, this is like the most amazing thing to complement your body and as well as your nervous system
Really,
because
I'm
it
so
shuts
sorry.
it
That
down.
was my dog snoring out there. I don't know if you
Oh,
heard it.
he was snoring?
Well, she has this inverted sneeze, so she goes like,
Oh,
I'm not gonna try to
to do
imitate her.
it?
That'd be ridiculous. But just in case, it wasn't me.
That's very cute. But yeah, so it's like a really lengthening form of movement, but it also is very calming to your body. So it brings you back to your breath. You're super focused. So it's almost like a meditative state as well. It's quite slow. And so you just really come back to centering in yourself as well as moving long. So it's my favorite thing to do, other than ballet and skiing. But the other thing that I do is Pilates. My favorite thing in the city to do is go to the Russian baths in the East Village, and I do the hot, cold, sauna,
Yeah.
cold plunge. That's my all-time. I'm addicted to cold plunges, and that's helped me a lot with inflammation, recovery, all of this. Recently, sleeping is extremely important to get to where you are. You have to dedicate yourself to at least trying to get 8 hours of sleep, which is really hard,
Pretty
but
hard.
at least as much as you feel like you're not exhausted, because that's where your body heals. And yeah, I mean, at night, usually I always have dessert because I love dessert. And you have to do things that like make you happy too in your life. You only have one. And so even though we're like extremely focused and dedicated, we still go
Wanna
out,
allow yourself, right?
yeah. Yeah, so we hang out, we go to bars, we go to some parties sometimes, go to concerts, jazz, whenever you have enough energy, it's kind of nice to
Right.
have like an outing.
So, okay, so I have a couple of questions. When you do a show in the evening after the whole day of training, do you still wake up at 7 and continue with the routine, or you take it easy the next day?
Nope.
You
Wake
don't
up
take
at
it. You
7.
just go back to the same routine. That is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
our
you
only
guys,
day, yeah, it's crazy. The only day that we wake up late or have a later start in our day is on Saturdays because we have 2 shows that day, so we have 12:30 class.
amazing improvement for the 2-day show.
Yeah.
Most dancers, when we were doing 2-day shows on a tour, for example, with the Dancing with the Stars tour, we would pretty much warm up and do not do anything extra,
Yeah.
because that would be so exhausting
Yeah.
to do the 2 shows that it would be
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
How about a day off? Do you actually have one day when you don't do anything?
Well, my day off is Monday, and that's the day that I usually go to gyrotonics. So, and
So it's not
because
like you
it's,
do nothing. You still do your extra stuff.
I still do the extra stuff because we don't usually have time during our work week. That's the day you go to the grocery store or the farmer's market or do your laundry or go to gyrotonics, maybe some people go swimming. I love swimming too, but I don't have a membership anymore to a pool. So it's like, I would say it's like an active recovery day.
Hmm. Yeah, that's everything that you're saying is just a testament to an incredible work ethic, an incredible strength of the mind and the body that the ballet
Yeah.
dancer needs to have. All right, but you mentioned that you love skiing. So do you still ski? Are you not scared that you're gonna injure yourself?
Well, I don't. I started skiing again during the pandemic because I was off and I was like, it's just I grew up skiing and it's just like one of my favorite things to feel and do in my life. And so I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do it this time. And I had really, really good training, so I know what I'm doing. If you didn't know what you were doing, you didn't have good training, I would say terrible
Stay away.
idea. Yeah, do not do it. It is too dangerous. It's an extreme sport. But I did it during the pandemic and it just felt like magical. And also everything came right back. So I haven't gone skiing since, but if I do, I would usually just, take it easy, but just enjoy myself
Enjoy
still
it.
because
Enjoy it.
yeah.
You're good enough that you feel confident.
Yeah.
All right. So another question is about your diet, because obviously there is a lot of pressure on ballet dancers to stay thin. I think
Yes.
maybe less in a later lately, but I don't know. Maybe you can answer that question. Uh,
Yeah.
how difficult it is? Is there a pressure to stay thin? Do you think that obviously it's for aesthetic reasons, but also I feel personally that as a dancer, when I gain a little bit of weight, go home for Christmas and, ate a ton of Polish bread and
Yeah.
pierogi,
Yeah.
I would feel heavy. I couldn't get my body to perform the way I wanted to perform. So it's
Yeah.
not only the aesthetics, but it's also just, you know, just a simple technical thing that your body is your tool and you want to keep it in top notch shape. But tell me about, is there a pressure? How does it work? How do you still stay thin? Did you
Yeah.
struggle ever with your body or your body image?
So I'm gonna go backwards because I had a thought of what you were saying with like that your body's your tool. Because I've been watching the cycling right now, the Giro d'Italia, and it's so interesting because their mindset's quite similar to ballet dancers. Like their body is their tool and they use
Mhm.
like mathematically like
Yeah.
what they put in their system to perform. And we don't really have the same thing at all because we don't have people that help us necessarily with that. Like we have people that we can ask advice for, but it's not, part of our training. But in my experience, what I found that's most important is to see what makes you feel good. So
Mhm.
if you feel like, having I don't know if anybody feels like this, but having like a ton of sugar makes you feel really good to perform, then, do it. But honestly, I think in ballet
You
dancers
would
and in
not. Uh-huh.
performance, just scientifically, like sugar makes you crash.
Yeah.
So like you have to find long endurance things. So like
Mhm.
before a show, there was a dancer in the company named Lauren King, and she always used to have a full sweet potato before she went on stage. And we were always like, what is that for? What is that for? And she was like, it's amazing because it's the only thing that like keeps me feeling
Maintains
like
energy.
satisfied, full, but also like long energy so that I could make it through the entire
Mhm.
show. And obviously, you should complement it with other things, but those kinds of things are super important. So my diet is kind of around that. So I kind of see how I feel and then kind of just eat whatever I want. But if maybe I notice that, having a big like you say, like a giant thing of bread or something makes me feel sluggish, then maybe I won't have that before a show. I'll have that another day, you know? So it's not like it's super controlled. It's just that it's what you feel. But I also think, I think that the pressure has died down a bit these days. And I think it's more about feeling good and being healthy, which is great, honestly, because I think then you actually get the best results from people in general in performing and in their bodies because they have less stress, which also makes you, you know, hold water and like produce cortisol, which is like, you know, not great for your body if you want to be sculpted or thin or whatever, you know. So like keeping a calm mindset, mentality, and your nervous system being quite centered and stuff is as important, I think, as your nourishment. And I definitely struggled when I was younger as a ballet dancer because I had a lot of muscles. Just naturally, I was pretty muscular, but I also, because I did skiing and bike riding and, you know, karate, and
Athletic.
I was so athletic. So I didn't have like the, I mean, I still had like a ballerina's body, I guess, you know, what you think is a ballerina's body, but I just had a bit more muscles. And I started becoming a bit more bulky in my quads only because I was not using them in the correct way. And I remember having one comment from somebody, and it was very hard for me to get that out of my head as a kid because it was like, and then I realized, oh my gosh, my body, I noticed my body. I like didn't notice it before and I didn't think anything of it. I just was like, I love my body, it's great, keeps me going. And then I was like, oh my gosh, is it not right, you know? And
Right.
so after that I kind of struggled a bit, just in like feeling like I was too bulky to be a ballerina. But then I kind of just, I got some wonderful advice. I talked about it to people, which is super important because if you don't talk about it, I think even though it's embarrassing sometimes, you can go down the path of like having, you know, terrible eating habits and things like that, which I definitely struggled with in the beginning because I just thought I was too big. So I would not eat until I was hungry. And then you know, I'd eat too much. It was just like the normal thing that I was also very young, like a teenager. So it's still your body's going through hormones and puberty. And it's just like, it's a lot of things. And a lot of people go through that. But I was able to talk to people about it. And so I found ways to get back to like my healthy self and not let it get further and further and like worse because that's very dangerous. And I just found that like lengthening exercises and again calming the nervous system and eating what you want and trying not to put so much stress on yourself to look a certain way was became like I felt good in myself, and that was the best thing.
So do you still think that there is a certain look that ballet companies are going for, or there is a little bit more room in terms of there's more diversity in body shapes and body forms, as opposed to in past years when, you know, decades ago when ballerinas had to be super thin and certain way. Do you
Yeah,
think there is a
I
little bit
think
more room for that diversity?
yeah, I do. I think, you know, I'm very happy about it too. I think there's a lot more room in the diversity of body types um, these days. I think that what's really important is your ability and what you can do and what's special about you and you know, your how you've trained yourself and the training you've gotten and how you perform. I think people have gotten to a place where that's, I think, of course, there's still body type and something that's like the traditional ballerina that's always, you know, you look at somebody and you're like, wow, that's a beautiful ballerina body. But I think it is changing a bit. And as long as it's you're healthy and you're not hurting yourself, I think that's the goal basically is to just kind of be welcoming to all body types, but also to be healthy in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, what I see a little bit more in ballet is that it's more about the individual expression and maybe the musicality and
Hmm.
charisma and personality rather than just strictly the look. Oh, you look certain way, and that's going to work
Yeah.
for me. And then, you know, for when you talked about diet, I really like what you said because, you know, a lot of people that are not athletes or dancers, I feel they don't understand one thing. When I tell people, I don't follow any diet either.
Yeah.
And obviously, some of us are more lucky genetically than
Yeah,
others.
of course.
But I do believe that dancers and athletes are very much in tune with their bodies. So it exactly comes down to that. I will let myself go and I would eat, half a pizza, and I love bread. If you ask me what's my favorite food, it would be just bread and butter. But I know, if I stuff myself with that day after day, I can do it once, I can do it twice. I'm
Yeah.
going to feel terrible. I will feel sluggish.
Yeah.
I will have no energy. I will feel bloated. I will just not feel good about myself. And it
Yeah, it's all
really
about
affects,
moderation.
right. And it really affects me physically and psychologically. So that's the reason why I don't do it. Not necessarily because I need to stay looking certain way, which obviously it's important for me too. It's aesthetics. We are
Yeah.
dancers. We look at ourselves in the mirror all the time.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I think it's really being in tune with your body what makes a difference. Like really
Yeah.
notice how the food affects you. And so that was a very, very good point.
Yeah, and we're athletes, so you have to fuel yourself. People have it in there that like, we don't eat because we're dancers, but actually it's quite the opposite. We usually actually eat more than other people.
We burn more. We
Yeah,
just have
because
to eat the right things.
that make you feel like good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard, you said that you struggled with your body image a little bit at the beginning. Have you ever heard, have experienced or came across a person that struggled with it and did not come out of it in a positive way like you did?
Yeah, I definitely have come across several people that I've experienced that, from with friends and others growing up. And it's led people to quit ballet or go a different direction. But in the end, if it's led them to quit ballet, it's obviously become so difficult mentally that it's important to like exit and kind of restart also and help yourself like get away from the whatever toxicity you've kind of taken on with yourself. Because like you say, it is really hard. We are staring at a mirror all day, and so and when you're a kid too, that's really hard to, when you start realizing that you have a body and it looks like something and you control what goes in it. Just
Mhm.
as a kid, it's like it's like what is that, the glass is shattering. It's like something that
Mhm.
shatters and you're like, oh wow, this is so different. And so like some people just can't shake that, insecurity and that like difficulty of looking at yourself. And if they're struggling too with something like an eating disorder or something, or a mental disorder of like, dysmorphia or whatever, it's good that like the people I know have just kind of exited ballet or have seeked out help, and that's how they've gotten better. But it's always kind of stayed with them.
Is that common in ballet world?
I think it's pretty common for women to go through, and men, women and men. I can't single out just one gender, but I think it's pretty common to go through it at some point in your life. I don't know if I've discovered that it's mostly common when you're younger, just because you're figuring yourself out and you're younger and you don't have as much knowledge, obviously, as you get older. But I think it is pretty common because, again, you have people staring at you and you're staring at a mirror. And at some point, there's going to be something where it clicks in your mind that,
Mhm.
oh, I need to look a certain way or something. Hopefully, I hope not. But in my experience, I think it's pretty common.
I think so too, and this comes down to this whole controversy with teenage girls in particular using
Mm,
social media. And you are so right. Is that age when you start becoming aware of your body, that
yep.
you look at yourself different way, you start to compare yourself to other people, and having, in this instance, social media, and having certain um, images and certain perception of how female body should look like can be
Yeah.
very deceiving. And I don't think that when you are 15, 16, you are ready to deal with that. You just are not.
No, not at all. And now it's everywhere. And it's so much pressure on this, the younger generations to grow up with. So I'm so glad I didn't, because
The
the social
same.
media, it's like there's so much to compare yourself to, and everyone is different. And also it's an image, or, it's not real. It's not like what you see in front of you. So that whatever people are seeing and not able to compute that it's an image and not the reality, they're going to think that they need to look like the image, in
Right.
order to be the best.
Right. And the difference is that me and you, we are equipped with dealing with it because
Yeah.
we are already grown up and mature and we figured things out. But a lot of these young girls are not. And
Yeah.
um, so that just confirms, so thank you for sharing, but that just confirms how those years are so critical and so fragile, and our
Yeah,
images so fragile at that time. Also for parents, they got to be really, really careful with that.
definitely.
So listen, speaking about the image and where you are right now, you are 30 years old, and I don't know um, if it's old or young in ballet. In ballroom at 30, we got to talk about age because unfortunately, being an athlete and dancer has an expiration date.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Most ballroom dancers retire at age about 35. It's obviously different for everyone a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and so basically, what is the average career of a ballet dancer? When do people retire? And, how long can you keep performing?
Yeah, so everyone is different, like you say. But I would say that the average and the experience of the people that I've seen around me is roughly like 38 to 40. People usually
Mhm.
retire. I would say 40 is like pretty much the incredible average that people get to. Although I did see that Yuang in San Francisco Ballet, I believe she just retired and she's 48, which is
Nice.
incredible. And as well as like Alessandra Ferry, she's still going and she's, much older. So it
Well, Maya
definitely
Pusiewska was dancing at 60, I think, still on the stage.
exactly. Or Alicia Alonso too,
Oh,
forever. So,
incredible.
there's some people that are just incredible anomalies and can dance because their bodies feel good. But I would say most people, and like you say, kind of the gap of 35 to 40. Some people retire early to like pursue a different job because they realize they don't want to continue. But it has to do with your body, to be honest. Like if you and your mentality. If you love it, if your body's still okay, then you can go for as long as you would like. If you're done mentally with it, it's time to, I think, be done with it. And then if your body is done with it, I think as well, it's like we only have one and you don't want to cripple it to the point where you can't walk.
So listen, where do you feel you are right now in your career? Because I actually remember right around when I was 30, like between 30 and 35, I felt these were the best year of dancing for me. And I'll tell you why. I was already, as a dancer on the older side, but I felt I was past all the insecurities, all the things I had to deal with as growing up. I had enough experience, enough knowledge to really appreciate what I was doing. And I remember every single time I would perform on a stage, I would be just so grateful and I would have such an amazing time. And I enjoyed it a lot more than in my 20s. And looking back, looking even at the videos, I think this was some of my best dancing, emotionally and physically. Tell me where you are in your career.
I feel the exact same way as you. I feel like entering my
Sweet spot
30s.
right there.
I'm so happy that I've gotten to this place because it's such a relief to not feel like to feel good with yourself, like accepting of yourself, not worrying about any of the stereotypes or insecurities. Of course, they still come up. It's not like it's anybody has insecurities, but it's very different in the 20s. You're so high strung, I feel like, and for me, I feel like in entering my 30s, I found such a calmness when I go on
Mhm.
stage, which is actually like makes my performance look so much better. And like I can actually be so much more present, and it's so special. And I feel the same way every time I enter the stage. I'm just so grateful, and it's like such a because I feel like I'm entering the end of my career now, like the end 10 years roughly of my career. And who knows, like I don't know where I am necessarily, but I'm entering the other side of my career, which is like the older to the end. Like I see a finishing time.
Mhm.
Whereas when I was 20, I was like, oh, this is gonna go on forever, you know?
Right.
And
You feel you're invincible and you're gonna last forever, for sure.
absolutely. And so now, like at the 30s, for me, I feel like I'm not invincible and this is going to end. And it's just brought, and that's not a negative thing. It's brought on just such a gratitude and appreciation for every time that I do get to dance, whether it's in a studio or on stage. And like I said, like this calmness that I feel, I think that comes with age as well, and being equipped with all of the tools and all the lessons that I've learned to really be confident and to execute the steps and be present and listen to the music. So it's a pleasure of a time to dance right now. The
No,
sweet spot, like you said.
right. That's it's fun. I hope you're gonna enjoy it for as long as possible. But tell me, where do you see your life in 10, 15 years, whenever you're retired? And also, at this moment in life, do you have I would call it a plan B? What if you get injured? Um, Tell me, what are your plans for the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, something that dancers always kind of, I think, like ruminate on, you know, because there is a
Mhm.
finish line and you can always get injured and your body is your tool. So if you can't do it, you can't do it. I've kind of always struggled with a plan B, only because everything that I want to do, I don't think allows me to make money. And unfortunately, you do need money in the world. Like my other passion is to basically volunteer with animals or go and restore a lot of environments, just like natural environments. And so it's like working in nature is just like what I'm most passionate about, and being an advocate. And so that's like what I would like to do eventually in my life
Well,
is
right, but that's not going to pay your rent, right? That's the
no.
problem.
Exactly. But I do love teaching. I do, honestly, and I love coaching and I love sharing my experience to help anybody really. And so I recently went on this endeavor. This is how I'm going to introduce it, but my endeavor with my best friend, Saskia Gregson Williams, and we created an online platform that is for mindful body movement. So there's ballet, beginner ballet, there's exercise, yoga, sound bath, there's Pilates. I'm hoping to get breath work on there. There's going to be CrossFit, and kind of like everything that encompasses wellness for your mind, really your mind, so that we'll have some meditation as well, but also your body. So kind of a platform that's a community where we're just going to invite as many people to join, like, and teach. So we have like incredible dancers that have joined and already taught classes for us, and they're all online on this platform called Grace and Form Studio. And so I'm hoping that this platform that my best friend and I have created is basically going to be my plan B, but also just something that I'm really driven to keep going and just keep growing. And I'm very passionate in trying to help others, and I feel like I found that movement is so helpful and mindfulness is so helpful to others whenever I talk to somebody or share my experience or give them a class or anything. And so I would say that's my plan B, is to keep working with this Grace and Form studio that we've created, and just keep going with it, because I've already seen so many people just feel so happy and feel good in the movement, because ballet, you know, it's strict and you have to be in a studio and stuff, but it's so nice to do ballet and like move. And so we wanted to bring it to everybody and make it accessible. And so that's kind of what I'm super passionate about right now, and more so like after my career as well, alongside, but then after my career I want to dive into it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, it sounds like a very, very valuable business. I think it's a great idea because who uh, who knows more about human body than ballet dancers. And
Yeah,
obviously,
exactly.
if you want to take an advice on how to stay healthy and how to stay in good shape, I always say take it from someone who you admire and who is a walking example of that.
Totally.
And you seem like an incredibly healthy and fit individual, someone who, you wake up in the morning, you do Pilates, you eat
Yeah.
boiled eggs, quinoa and avocados. Like you lead such incredibly healthy lifestyle, and it doesn't seem like you feel like you're depriving yourself or of anything. It seems like you
No,
are
yeah.
very happy and satisfied in what you're doing. But obviously, it is a business, and I hope you succeed in it. And speaking about that, um, we mentioned money. Do you feel like you are getting compensated enough for the work that you're doing in the company? It's not about personally about this particular company, but dancers in general, ballet dancers. Do you feel they get compensated?
I really don't. I don't feel like they get compensated enough because we're like pro athletes that perform so often. And when you look at the NBA or the NFL and you see like what these people are making and the work that they do, I wish that it was as respected as that, because we do just as much and maybe
Work.
more, work for so much less. And you really get left kind of in the lurch after your career. Not that like they just like throw you out, it's just money wise in the general sense it's keeps you going. And unfortunately, I don't think dancers in general get compensated enough.
Yeah, I think you even work harder because when we talk about a football player, an active football player, or any athlete, they have their seasons and they do get a season off and they do train in a season off to stay in shape, but not nearly as hard as they do in a season. And it seems like you are in a season all the time.
Yeah,
A
all the
day
time.
after day after day. Now, obviously, it's a market economy, and it's based on demand and supply. And you have a Super Bowl that's watched by 100 million people. I actually talked about it with Dennis and Antonina, which Antonina
Yes.
says hi.
Oh, I say hi always.
We talked about it, and I think that the problem is, I love ballet and I love classical ballet, but I think there should be more done in this discipline to, unfortunately, cater to more general public, so
Yeah,
more
I
people
agree.
can come and enjoy it. Because quite frankly, I obviously love dancing, but you go to see any of the classical ballets, and I'm not saying that they should be changed or modified, but it's 3 hours,
Yeah.
of listening to classical music, and you have to have a very sophisticated taste to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, unfortunately, are not in that place. And nowadays people can't even sit through watching a 3 or 2 hour movie. They want the quick form of entertainment. So
Yeah.
I think maybe if companies would be able to adapt in some way to make it a little bit more um, I would
It's like
say
approachable.
entertaining or
Yeah.
approachable. That is a good word. More
Yeah.
approachable to the public.
Yeah. We have we're lucky in this company, New York City Ballet, we do basically 3 different pieces in a night that are 20 minutes. And so
That's
that's
great.
like,
That's
it's great.
amazing.
Yeah, because the audience comes and it's like something different every 20 minutes.
Your variety. Mm-hmm.
A very good variety, and it's a pretty quick show. It's 2 hours usually with 2 intermissions. So I think they've hit it on the nose with like grabbing attention of different people. And we also have a deal that's like a 30 for $30 ticket. So if you're 30 or under, you get $30 tickets. So it's like encouraging the younger audience to come. And we have as well like an art series program. So like it's incorporating an art, and you get free beer and wine, and it's like an event, and it's 2 nights a season, I think. And so you get cheap tickets, and then you get to enjoy like a whole evening. So I think but I agree. I think that in general, all the companies need to try to find ways to like make things more approachable so that it keeps going. That's the only way it's going to keep going, basically.
Right. Do you guys sell out shows?
We sell out shows. Usually Nutcracker, the winter show is the most sold, of course. But I think that things are going really well with the ticket sales these days, which is really, really great especially since the pandemic, it was so empty. And so now it's nice and full, but we need to keep working on it, obviously.
Yeah, no, I love, as I said, I'm admiring ballet dancers' bodies and what you guys do. I want my kids to. My daughter is in a ballet class. I don't think she's gonna actually go into ballet just because she's growing up around boys and she's too much of a tomboy. But you never know, right?
You never know.
Snap. You said you were doing all these sports, which, by the way, do you think it helped you in your dancing?
Definitely.
In what way?
I think that I think being, like I had mentioned before, a sponge and just taking all of the tools that you can learn everywhere in your life, and also just just learning and having an open mind, not always just doing one thing. I think that is super crucial for your body, just like your diet, like to not just have one thing. And I think it's the same thing with activity and exercise.
Yeah. So I'm a huge enthusiast. I will be always coming and watching shows no matter what. I don't mind sitting through 3 hours of Sleeping Beauty.
Yay!
Okay, so thank you so much, first of all, for sharing all your knowledge, all your wisdom. Tell me where we can find you on social media, and if there is anything else you would like to share with the listeners.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. I think it's Indiana_Woodward, but Indiana Woodward you'll find me.
You will come up.
It'll come up. And then graceinformedstudio.com is our platform, and we're going to offer whoever is listening and whoever wants to do this a 10% discount. So we'll put the code in the show notes. But I would say I always say this Oscar Wilde quote that says it's that he wrote, be yourself because everyone else is already taken. Be yourself because everyone else is already taken. There we go. And so I would say that would be the thing I'd want to share with everybody.
And can we see you currently on the stage?
Oh, yes. I should share that too. I am currently going through a little bit of a lighter season because I hurt myself before the season in a fall. But I'm hoping to be dancing Divertissement in Midsummer, which is like a so beautiful pas de deux, on Saturday evening on, I believe it's June 1st. I'll be dancing then. Otherwise, come and see us in the fall. I believe the season starts in September in New York City. If you're in Saratoga, you can come to our Saratoga season. There's lots of places.
Oh, wow.
DC, if you're listening from DC, we're performing at Kennedy Center. June 4th, I believe I'll be on the stage. So there's lots of opportunities. You can always look at New York City Ballet, but also Grace Inform. I'll share my things that I'm doing for sure.
Please do, and we'll share the discount with our listeners. And I will definitely be in touch with you when I'm in New York. I want to come to the show.
Yes.
I want to see you dance live.
Yes.
It would completely make my world. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Danceology podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at danceologypodcast@gmail.com. We are also on Instagram and Facebook at Danceology Podcast and available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Metacortex Publishing hopes that you've enjoyed this presentation.
Please take a moment to listen to some other podcast offerings from Metacortex Publishing.
A quest is a search for something. And every week, the Quest podcast will show you how we know what we know through interviews with people that have incredible stories of dedication and perseverance. I'm your host, Todd Fisher. Join me in this thought-provoking and inspiring podcast of discovery. Find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm Father Daniel Duplantis, a Catholic priest, martial artist, and host of the Karate Priest podcast. Have you ever wondered what the church teaches about different topics? Are you a martial arts enthusiast or just someone who wants to learn more about martial arts? I'd like to invite you to join me and many guests on my podcast as we cover topics of faith, everyday living, and martial arts on the Karate Priest podcast.
Hi everybody, I'm Amber Rose, the religious hippie, and I host the podcast A Catholic's Perspective. Join me every 2 weeks as I release episodes targeted towards helping young Catholics navigate their ever-changing secular world while staying strong in their faith. Whether you are a Catholic or not, all are welcome here. So if this is something that interests you, feel free to tune in. You can find A Catholic's Perspective on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I hope to see you there. Bye!
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. This podcast is produced by Todd Fisher and Anthony Smith and is distributed by Metacortex Publishing. This podcast is copyright. Any previously trademarked or copyright content is used by permission. Information and opinions stated in this podcast should not be construed as medical advice. Please be sure to visit the official website for Metacortex Publishing at metacortexpublishing.com or find us on social media for other unique content.